All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another installment of the Rugby Scoop podcast. I'm not by myself. I'm with the usual crew: Vickers Miranda, Vuyo Zanga, then Jade Craig, and Hugh Griffin. Jade, let's start off with you, man. Obviously, last week we took a week off. Obviously, probably a good time to kind of chill, relax, spend time with family. How was your past 2 weeks been so far?
All good. It's been all good. I didn't need to take a week off to run away from French and discussing the French, but yeah, no, it's been all good, guys.
Running away from discuss? No, we're not running away from anything. We will be discussing a few elements regarding obviously the Six Nations last week, and obviously tap into the URC, tap into Super Rugby as well, and other leading news headlines this week. Griffin, the gardener, how's it going?
All good, mate. All good. I'm trying to take a break from watching too much rugby with the Six Nations now being gone, so I can decompress. And then I check the schedule, and there's more rugby than there's ever been. So it's unbelievable. But I'm not surprised that Jade is running away from the French at the moment. He's clearly worried that their B team is going to beat the All Blacks in the summer.
Very funny. Vickers, busy man with rugby competitions coming up and trainings. But yeah, how are things so far? How's the trainings going? And obviously, what are you looking to expect this season with your current side?
Good afternoon, everyone. No, everything is good. Preparation is going well. I'm actually where I wanted to be at this point. The team is still obviously making just one or two things that are not up to my standard, but it's okay. We'll learn. Yeah, season, I'm looking forward to just keep on improving, man. Just keep on improving the players. I keep on improving my strategies and mentality towards tournaments and games. So, yeah, pretty much chill for me. Pretty much the norm.
Yeah, fair enough. Nice one. Yeah, it's been quite a busy 2 weeks over in the Netherlands as well. Obviously, for those that are following Rugby Europe Championship, Netherlands needed to beat Belgium to progress through to the repechage to try and qualify for the Rugby World Cup. But unfortunately, obviously, they lost to Belgium. And this past weekend, back to full complement of the championship or the league Klasse in the Netherlands, and some quite interesting results. Very competitive. A lot of international players coming back into their clubs. It's proving to be quite a nice contest between the number one place team right up to the sixth place side, because every team is trying to fight for the top four semi-finals. Nonetheless, news making headlines this week, guys. We know that Springbok and Stormers fly off. Mani Libbok is reportedly exploring interests from clubs in England, France, and Japan. Jade, we've spoken many a times about what's currently happening at the Stormers, and obviously having a number of players playing in the same position. You've got Willemse, you've got Sasha, you've got Mani. They can all play at 10, but obviously they're quite versatile players. But I mean, do you think Mani now sees an opportunity to go make money overseas, or there could be too many cooks in the kitchen for the number 10 spot?
I think there was a time for him to move. It will be now. Stormers are in good hands with Sasha, and knocking on the door. Before he loses that throne officially, and sits on the bench for Sasha. And obviously, you've got to put yourself first. Also, and also knowing Mani's background and where he comes from and stuff. I mean, his stocks are high. I don't think it will be higher than this at the moment. So for him now, I think it's the perfect time to move. I think at his career, the right time as well to move. I mean, so yeah. I mean, if the opportunity comes overseas, and I would take it.
Yeah, fair enough. Vuyo, you've mentioned a few times on the pod as well about a guy like Ambrose Papier. obviously maybe getting a chance within the Springbok setup. But now I've recently checked that Faf de Klerk, Grant Williams will be sidelined for a couple of weeks now. So maybe this is an opportunity for Ambrose Papier because to step up his game.
Yeah, definitely. I think I don't even think he needs to step up his game. He's been consistent since I think last season, last year, the whole of 2024. He was pretty much I would rated him as probably the best performer scrum half within the URC in terms of the South African teams. So I just think he needs to just continue being doing exactly what he's been doing. I think he obviously, having known the head coach, probably go for tried and tested. Probably a guy like Herschel Jantjies will probably come back into the mix. But we still got Kobus Reinach. Still, obviously, he's coming back to the Stormers, I think. So He's going to the Stormers. So he'll be in South Africa. So he'll be definitely someone who will probably be more comfortable now in terms of selection wise. Yeah, but for me, Ambrose, I think he deserves a chance. I think Rassi only played him in 2018, I think only 2018 season. And then he didn't go to the World Cup. So, yeah, I think for me, I would really love to see him get back into that mix.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Griffin, I mean, talking points from last week's Six Nations, French hooker, Piato Movaka copping a 3-match ban following the off-the-ball incident against Scotland in the last round of the Six Nations. I don't know what your thoughts are regarding this, because, I mean, there could have been an opportunity there for Movaka to be red-carded during the game itself, right? But obviously that didn't happen. Also, the element of the angles that were available to the TMO in that particular game, and all of a sudden there's other angles once there is sighting commissioners that are involved. I mean, what are your thoughts regarding what TV angles are available for the match day and what TV angles are available post match day? I mean, if those angles are available during match day, it's easier for everyone to make decisions, right? Then you probably won't even need a lot of effort going into sighting commissioners in such important games, because last weekend was quite an important weekend for at least 3 teams, right? England, France, and Ireland to potentially win the Six Nations.
Yeah, you're always going to have extra TV angles after the game or extra video angles, because I've never been in the kind of production studio of a live international rugby match, but particularly in France, they've got so many angles, and there'll be a guy there with all the screens and things. He'll be the director. In the top 14, they've started in games. They show the name of the director on the screen before the game kicks off. It's just the Frenchest thing ever. But look, I think you have to be careful what you wish for on this, because how many times have any of us watched a game where they spend like 4 or 5 minutes looking at TMO replay angles? I think there has to be a side of it where if there's nothing immediately obvious from the first few angles, we just need to get on with the game. I think, like I said, you don't want to be there for 5 minutes trying to watch angles whilst everyone's just stood around on the pitch waiting for it to go ahead, because it is entertainment at the end of the day. And then you've got the process, you've got the time after the game to go through the angles with a fine-tooth comb, to spin things around, to zoom in and magnify and enhance. And yeah, I just think that is that one that they could have said that they got wrong live? A lot of people did say that, but maybe that's where the bunker is so good, because if they'd have given that a yellow based on the angles that they had, and then the directors got the access to all of the extra angles, that's where the bunker system really adds value.
Yeah, fair enough. Vickers, you wanted to jump in?
No, I wanted to comment on the angles that the guys have. I mean, those massive trucks have like literally so many angles. So the TMO does have a lot of angles to play with. It's just a matter of obviously being quick on what he wants in communication with the producer of the game and stuff. So for me, I think the one thing I've noticed lately, have you guys noticed that every time there's something like controversial, like a try that's controversial, they never show those angles that will bring in that 50-50 call. And I think that's where I feel like they have control of it. So they still showing us what they're not showing us what we want to see. But then they only show us when it's clear that, okay, this is what happened. But if you notice, if it's a 50-50 call, they normally just let it slide and let it go.
Interesting. So now going forward, we will be watching carefully to see if there's any improvements, obviously, when it comes to situations like this in such important games as well. Moving along, guys, feel free to chime in. Jade, Hugh, or Vickers. Former SA Rugby CEO as well has to pay 37 million rands plus interest back to University of Stellenbosch. For those who know what has transpired there, you can check that on all the news outlets in SA. I think SA Rugby wrote the recent story about that. And Bod, Brian O'Driscoll, Jade, he's starting to blame Jacques Nienaber for the Irish woeful Six Nations display. He's been quoted as saying that Leinster's Springbok style of blitz defense has kind of made Ireland lose its integrity in how they approach a rugby match, which is quite interesting comments coming from Bod. And then Skalk Burger has suggested that Felix Jones could be the guy to take over Rassie Erasmus post 2027. Or it could happen next year or during 2027. Let's see what transpires there. It's a developing story. And Women's Six Nations has kicked off this weekend with France and Scotland winning their first fixtures against Ireland and Wales, respectively. And then the Waratahs upsetting the Brumbies, which was an interesting game. Springboks winger Edwill van der Merwe has finally decided to take up the opportunity at the Sharks. I mean, he had offers coming in from Europe as well. I mean, for someone to actually turn down the euro, turn down the pound versus the rand, quite interesting developments there by Edwin van der Merwe, or quite interesting decision by Edwin van der Merwe. Jade, you wanted to jump in there?
Yeah, man. Just on that, Felix Jones topic of Skalkberger. I mean, obviously, I haven't seen him in the head post position at all yet. So, I mean, the jury will still be out if he can do it. But, I mean, Jacques Nienaber did it, and he led South Africa to a World Cup as a head coach. But South Africa just need to be careful after this World Cup. Just my 2 cents, if Rassie is going to leave, maybe just get something newish in and continue with the same situation, because we still would backfire with New Zealand under Foster and Hansen and the Graham Henry era. Sometimes it just goes on for too long.
Yeah. But it's a tough one, eh? Who are the people that come to mind when we think of someone to replace Rassie Erasmus? Because it feels like Rassie has the stronghold in this regard when it comes to this. With you guys then looking at law section. I don't know if you want to cover it now, or should we look at the law section or anything law related that you've noticed this past weekend? I think for myself personally, I think I've seen a lot of chop tackles that have turned into grass cutters, which are quite heavily dangerous. But yeah, let me know, guys, if you guys want to chat about that now, or we can save it for later. Okay.
Yeah, I think there wasn't much, bro. So yeah, we can move on.
All right, fantastic. All right, recap, gents. We're not running away from the Six Nations. Just a recap, short, simple, and sweet. I remember from when we started the week before the Six Nations kicked off, we made our predictions. I was pushing for the English narrative. I thought England looked quite decent when they went to New Zealand and Autumn Series, even though they lost a few games. But I think there was a bit of promise from what they've been doing. And obviously it showed in this past Six Nations in terms of some improvement. Beating France is one of them. And obviously coming close to the end and making the final weekend of Six Nations quite interesting because they stood a chance of actually lifting the trophy if France had lost to Scotland. But Hugh, your roundup, your recap of Six Nations overall. I know Jade and Vuyo had selected France in their prediction, so well done to you guys on making the right call. And Hugh, then Vickers, you jump in with your recap, and then Jade will close us off.
Yeah, I think the best team won. I think France, they'd probably be annoyed that they haven't won the Grand Slam. I was actually talking to someone about it, and they said, look, Galtier and the team aren't getting that much credit because it's expected that they should win. And if anything, people are talking about how the loss against England was a missed opportunity. So I think the best team won with the best players won. It's funny, the vibes in Ireland at the moment based on that, because they lost one game this Six Nations. They lost one game in the autumn. They lost one game in the summer. And they lost one game last Six Nations. And you would think that they are on a 10-game losing streak from the conversations that are happening in Ireland at the moment. The vibes are like everything's coming off the rails, and there is things to worry about Irish rugby, like we've spoken about with the non-performance of some of the provinces in the URC in terms of the lack of new talent that is coming through, or how quickly that new talent is coming through, which I think is a little bit overblown. But it's starting to look like a cliff edge in some positions. So it's just strange vibes there. Scotland, it's funny, because if you look at a lot of Scotland's stats, they're really good. And if you look at Scotland's backline, I think you would say that a lot of people are picking a Lions backline from 9 to 15 that is mostly Scottish. And the thing with things like that is once you've picked 3 or 4 Scottish players, it makes sense to pick 5 or 6 because then you have the cohesion, you have the relationships there, which you just don't have time to build up on a Lions tour. So it's just, I think the point of discussion for Scotland is, has Gregor Townsend taken them as far as he can? And would they take another step forward with another coach? Or is this the maximum that Scotland are capable of? Because there is a weakness in the forward pack, especially in the depth of the forward pack. You see both props regularly playing 70, 75, maybe even 80 minutes. So that's the question around Scotland for me. Italy, I think, took a step backwards this Six Nations. I think they're capable of playing great rugby, and I think some of their players are starting to play with a bit of arrogance in a good way. But their defence was just inept at times, and some of the decisions that they were making off the ball was really not good enough. So I think they let themselves down at times in this game, especially in that Ireland game. And then Wales, what is there to say? The performance against England is potentially the worst I've seen. I do think that there were steps forward made once Gatland's left, and I do think that Sherrod got some things right. I think that we need a new coach to come in now with a really clear vision of what they want, and they need to be picking players based on how they fit with that vision of what the style of play is going to be and what the core fundamentals of the team are going to be. I think that's what we need at the moment, because I think Sherrod's relied in his 3 games in charge very heavily on picking players he knows with combinations that work, and ultimately I think we found the ceiling of some of those players.
Mm-hmm. No, fair. Vickers?
Yeah, I think I won't dwell too much on England and Italy for me. France, I think, obviously, like you said, the best team won. I think they were kicking themselves for not taking the Grand Slam. It's a funny comment, like an interesting comment for me is the Irish. I think they're starting to hit a dip. I think they've been having that stability performance for many years now. I think it's probably, I would probably even go as before as 2019. They've been sort of a good team, solid team. And I think now in 2025, they're starting to hit the dip. And that's the interesting transition between now having a new coach in the mix and then having to lose a couple of very key players. I mean, I can only imagine when they're starting to think of Bandiaki being out of the squad or retiring. that's going to even hamper them even more. I guess that's why they're not even playing. So they need to obviously quickly take that curve back up. And the only way they can do that is if they keep getting the youngsters in and playing them as much as they can. Wales for me, as Hugh has said, I think as soon as they get a good coach, there'll be stability. There could be a vision, and then they can start to pull the trigger. They can start to pull it up the right way. And Scotland, they've reached. I think Gregor Townsend has reached his ceiling. Honestly, I think he has. For me, you have so much talent at the moment within that Scottish team, and you could be literally pushing. I would even go as far as the number 5 spot within the World Rugby, but you're not doing that at the moment. So yeah, for me, I think it's just if they lose this, it's always not good to get a new coach in 2 years before the World Cup. So obviously, if we're talking 2 years, we'll be talking 26 and 27. So that'll be 2 seasons before the World Cup. But it's not good. But at the same time, it's almost like if you are Scottish rugby, do you throw away the 2 years, or do you say, look, let's rather give the coach the 2 years to do something, build something, and then he can get a 4-year after that. So which will make his tenure like a 6-year, which is a very solid one for any top coach. So this is the question that they'll have to ask themselves. And I think if I was them, I would definitely say, like exactly how Rassie came into the Springboks. He came in 2 years before. So I would definitely go with that and say, listen, here's your 2 years. Get your combinations right. Get youngsters in that you need to get in. We're not going to be looking at the results, big results on the 2027 World Cup, but definitely the following World Cup in 31, we want to be competing at a high level. So, yeah, I think for me, Gregor's reached his limit.
Oof, Gregor slander. Jade Craig.
Just what Vio said there. That was my point, I mean, we've all been speaking about Wales. We've been speaking about, they've been poor. But, I mean, then they got to rebuild with a new coach now. So let's see how they go. And arguably, I just see 1 or 2 of their players going on the British and Irish Lions tour or start. Because, there's a lot of injuries that come from that tour. So hopefully they get a chance to build. Then, when it comes to Scotland, they did say that Vio said there, I think now might be the time for Gregor Townsend to back up and, for them to depart ways with him. I think there is a few exciting coaches out there that can take this team to the next level. I think Gregor reached his ceiling. France deserved winners at the end of the day. I think the turning point for France came, after that Italy game. And they destroyed Italy, by 70 points or so, though they started shaky. And I think from there, they really just kicked on in the Six Nations. Although there was a few concerns in that last game against Scotland as well. But I think they'll be kicking themselves, like you said, for not winning the Grand Slam. And then there's England. I still don't know what to make about this English team. I still do not know what to make. Will they be brave enough to play like they played against Wales when they play against the top 4 teams, or will they slip into that old habits again, And Ireland, yeah, we spoke about it. I mean, I think beginning of the Six Nations, we said this could be the beginning of the end for Ireland. So let's see how they bounce back. Let's see how these Irish players bounce back on the Lions tour, because that will show character, and that will also show the influence and the impact that a guy like Andy Farrell had on this team, those players.
Yeah, no, fair enough, gentlemen, very much. Good summary there for this particular Six Nations tournament. Now moving to the URC, we're going to mix it up, URC Super Rugby, then back to URC again. But starting off with the UK, Hugh, UK and Irish. Obviously, the Scarlets not hanging on for too long against the Stormers. They've never beaten the Stormers. And obviously, it seemed like things were not going to change in that sense. But yeah, just give us a roundup of the UK sides, and obviously some summary over the Scarlets and the Stormers.
Yeah, the Scarlets-Stormers game was really disappointing for me as a Scarlets fan. It was a very poor performance. I think you could tell that a lot of the boys have been holding tackle bags for Team Wales for the last 8 weeks. But even so, some of the passing was diabolical at times. The Stormers' third try is one of the softest tries I've ever seen. in terms of just someone running straight at the line and just running straight through without a finger laid on them. That was embarrassing, to be honest. And the restarts were just a shambles for the Scarlets. Yeah, every time that we scored, we faced a restart, and it was a guarantee that we were going to give the ball away and give the Stormers an attacking platform in our half. Is just not good enough, to be honest. And what's frustrating is it's a considerably worse performance than what we've seen in the season up until now. In the first half of the season, it was a case of we didn't see these kind of errors. We didn't see this kind of approach. It's all kind of basically gone wrong for us. So, yeah, that's disappointing. From a Stormers point of view, like, they got the result. I think the good players turned up for them. I think Sasha, Warwick Holland turned up. I think Dion Fourie was good whilst he was on the pitch. Unfortunately, went off injured. So, yeah, I think it's job done for the Stormers. I think the scoreline flatters them, to be honest, though, because they still weren't great. Other than that, I think the game that really needs to be spoken about is Glasgow versus Munster, where this is a proper rivalry. Two teams that don't like each other. They've had a lot of run-ins, controversial games over the years, and Munster looked like getting an upset over in Scotstoun, but Glasgow managed to claw it back in the final 15 minutes. I think there was 3 tries in the final 15 minutes between the two teams, and Glasgow managing to get the job done by 3 points in the end. So that's the exciting one that really has big implications sort of for the table and for the two teams' run-ins. I'm just not feeling Munster this year. I really don't think that they're going to get top 4. I just think they're incomplete as a team. I think they've got too many holes, too many weaknesses. I don't expect them to be competing for that top 4 come the end of it. Benetton snuck a victory against Edinburgh. Edinburgh away form still pretty poor, you'd have to say. Dragons gave Ulster a scare. This was a game between two poor teams, to be honest. The Dragons played some good stuff, but Ulster too good, and Dragons kind of deserving of their place at the bottom of the table, unfortunately. And then Super Rugby URC, we need to call it United Super Rugby Championship. Ospreys 43, Connacht 40. That's a mad game. That's a weird one. I haven't seen the highlights of that one yet, but clearly I think the Ospreys were 31-14 up at some point and then tried to throw it away in the second half. So I need to get more educated in what went on there, but that's weird. But I'd say keep an eye on the Ospreys. They're peaking at the right time. They've made a change of coach and it's really working for them. So don't count them out for a semi-final.
Fair enough. But yeah, since we are talking about the Scarlets game, Vickers and Jade, I don't know if you guys did catch a minute or two of that particular one. But from my perspective, I thought, yeah, the Stormers, obviously, they had game breakers within their arsenal. And obviously, Warwick Holland, I mean, a baller. We've spoken about his contribution quite often. But one thing that stood out for me, Vickers, was Sasha. Not the fact that he got man of the match, but the amount of times he runs into contact. And I'm not talking about running into his opposite number. I'm talking about him running into locks, running into props. I mean, he's not afraid to throw his body against the heavy boys. And last night was one of those games where he was just throwing his body at the heavy bodies throughout. But I mean, from you as a coach, do you kind of, I don't know, bite your tongue or, hold your breath every time he runs with ball in hand into those collisions? I mean, looking at the longevity of how long you would like this guy to continue playing. And we've seen how many injuries he's copped in a space of 18 months. I mean, what are your thoughts regarding this particular I don't know, it's not even something that we are used to, right? A fly-off, throwing his body like this. I mean, a Skalkberger, we understand, is a forward versus other forwards. He's got a massive body. He's got his body can handle most of those collisions. But Sasha is a bit tiny. He's very confident, obviously, as a footballer, to carry the ball into those collisions. But your thoughts, Vickers, for the Stormers, and obviously what I said about Sasha?
Unfortunately, I didn't watch the game because I was watching at the same time. I was watching the Bulls game. So for me, I just saw one highlight on X where they were throwing the ball around. I think Dion scored at the end where Simelane was stepping 2 guys, 3 guys, and they presented the ball and they passed to Dion. Then I just thought to myself, oh my gosh, here we go again. The Stormers are back with their original game plan. But anyway, look, Scoop, you do get those kind of players that are very confident in taking contact. I mean, we already know a player like Sasha who's used to making big tackles, who's used to throwing his body around. He's always going to feel confident taking contact. I don't think he's going to shy away from anything. But like you say, every time he's going to take contact, the coach is probably going to think, oh my gosh, what's happening? Back in the days, we used to say, you want your fly half and your fullback to play like they don't have medical aid, because obviously that's when you need them the most on their feet. So I think it's just a matter of conversation with him, with the coaching staff, just having a conversation with Sasha in terms of, look, if you're going to take contact, then we don't have someone to be a playmaker. So he needs to understand his role. I mean, probably in the last 3 years, you probably know this stat. In the last 3 years, probably Sexton probably took contact, maybe not more than 5, not more than 10 probably. So he needs to just get himself into an understanding of how a 10 plays. As a 10, you shy away from contact. As a 10, you just, in fact, you tell other guys to do the bashing. You're just controlling the chess pieces. So yeah, it's a matter of a conversation with the coach. And like you say, if you lose your 10 and things don't go according to plan, then who are you going to blame?
Ghostbusters. I'm kidding. Jade, your thoughts on the Stormers and the Scarlets?
Now, also the same as Vuyo, but I'm just laughing at Vuyo's medical aid comment there. But I think, the same as Vuyo, I scored the highlights, because I was watching the Bulls and Leinster game. But from what I could see, there was a lot of razzle-dazzle in this game. It looked like the Stormers got their attack shape, spot on, a lot of off-the-ball running good angles, good lines. And I see, or from what I've read, in reviews in this, Simelane again had a good hit out there. So maybe he's coming, finding his feet finally at the Stormers. But it's good to see guys like Damien Willems and Sasha, back on the pitch again, playing URC rugby. I hope they can continue right through to the end. But yeah, that's enough for the Stormers for me. I mean, I can't give them again praise after the season.
Yeah, sticking with you, Jade, then let's jump on to the big one. Obviously, the Irish teams copped 3 losses or 4 losses this weekend. So no Irish team had won a game in this URC. Hugh, I don't know if there are stats for this, actually.
No, Ulster won in the end.
Snap. Okay, lucky. But nonetheless, they are in... they're in a spot of bother, just in general aspects, right? I mean, looking at Leinster right now, traveling to Pretoria, and it seems like the Blue Bulls are Leinster's bogey team at this point in URC, even if they win by the skin of their teeth in the end, winning a scrum like that. But your overall view of Leinster versus Bulls, a slow game in the beginning, right? Not a lot of razzle-dazzle, but plenty of kicking and tactical plays. But, Jade, your thoughts regarding this game, just in general?
There was a time in the game when I thought Leinster would run away with it. But to be honest with you, I think those 2 early injuries in the first few minutes where they lost, I think it was the lock-in and the loose ball, to HIAs.
Yeah.
Meant that they couldn't utilize the bench really, especially for them coming and those young kids coming through to Alta and playing at altitude for might be the first time in their career. They're not used to it. So that does take a lot, and it does explain their performance from, let's say, the 50th minute or so, because that's where the Bulls really got into the game. And we went to their strengths. They scored 2 rolling ball tries. But overall, in general, in terms of this game, it was a little bit of a scrappy game. There was quite a few handling errors. There wasn't really a team that took the game by the scruff of the neck. When it looked like Leinster were starting to do this, they faded away and the Bulls came back into the game again. So, for the Bulls, they would be kicking themselves to get themselves in that position where they won the game with the final kick, because how many times would you see the Bulls run away with the game? Once they get the lead in the last 20 minutes or so. They'll score another try or so. But I think that the red card from the clear clearly, gave Leinster again that, that belief and opportunity to get points on the board again, once they went to 15 against 14. So for the Bulls, they'll be a little bit annoyed that, they got there, Leinster under the pump, they had them on the ropes, they scored a try. I mean, we would expect them to score another try, maybe look for the bonus point try, because Leinster were puffing and they were already out on their feet. But Leinster finally found a way to get back into it. And yeah, I mean, the Bulls scrum at the end of the day bailed them out, I don't know. Did the Bulls deserve to win it? The Leinster fans would say no, because, Leinster did also have their moments in the game. Did Leinster deserve to win it? I mean, I don't know. But it was, for me, at the end of the day, it was an entertaining game for the neutral, not the best game of rugby to watch. But overall, I was a Bull supporter, like in Dabazinto, I just feel that, we got our noses in front. We should have went on. We should have really put them to the sword. We should never have got in a position where they we needed a last minute penalty to win the game, because I really think Leinster were out on their feet in that loss from the 50th minute or so. I think it was all Bulls once they went to their power play.
Yeah, Hugh, there's a comment just before we started the conversation regarding Blue Bulls, and apparently they're regressing, and one of the Leinster supporters posted a scoreline from 2023 saying the Bulls scored over 63 points or something like that against Leinster at home. And 2025, or fast forward 2 years later, and the game is hanging by a thread, right? And Blue Bulls obviously winning it right at the death in the 81st minute. But when you look at the Blue Bulls, I mean, they will take this win with both arms, with both hands, and say, we've taken 4 points. We'll move along from here. We didn't lose against Leinster. And also they've broken the Leinster unbeaten run so far in this competition, regardless whether they're using their second string or first string side. Your thoughts on Blue Bulls and, I don't know, consistency or inconsistent moments at this level? Because, I mean, as Jade said earlier about how slow the start was, and the Blue Bulls, the last maybe 20 to 30 minutes, starting to find their rhythm and starting to play the game the only way they know how, rolling balls and kicking the living daylight out of rugby ball.
Yeah, I do think that the Bulls aren't as good as they were last season. I think that's a fair comment. You have to remember how many injuries they've got as well. There's no Elric Loic, for example, and you could name plenty of others that they haven't got the number of absentees that of their better players. I think the bit of context that is being missed is that Leinster team is a lot stronger than what they've sent to South Africa in recent years. Like last year, their top 4, maybe even top 2 position was sewn up. It was in the bag. It wasn't even top 2, was it? It was top 4. But they when they sent the team last year, it was like literally the thirds. It was a kids team. There was players that you've never heard of going down there. This time it was Geordie Barrett, R.K. Snyman, Similani. I think Ross Byrne was playing 10. So it was a much stronger Leinster team that visited down there. So I think a combination of...
Did you say Similani? Or did I hear incorrectly?
Oh, sorry, Slimani.
Similani at Leinster. They would love that.
Yeah. Slimani, the French prop. So I do think that the Bulls are worse than they were last year. I think that is mitigated by how many injuries they've got, but I do think that there are more and more people starting to wonder, is it time to refresh Jake, to be honest? Are we getting to the moment where this team isn't going to take another big step forward under Jake? That's the question.
Oh, lovely question, which I want to pose for Vickers. Is Jake White the Gregor Townsend of the Blue Bulls? Here we are, Vickers. Talk to me.
Yeah, yes, I don't know. Look, for me, I think it's a more of a question of what are they trying to do? Because I started seeing some very shady offloads, and this has been coming for a while now. So I'm not sure if they try to transition to adapt. Sorry, if they're trying to adapt their structure and come into this new throw the ball around offloads type of game, like French are doing, or what are they doing? So for me, I feel like they losing that identity that they always had, using those strong guys, running, coming around the corner, being dominant on the advantage line. I think that's what, for me, I'm seeing at the moment. For example, like Jade was talking, and I was thinking to myself, when the game started, and after 15 minutes, I thought to myself, is this game in Ireland or is it in South Africa? Because I just didn't see the dominance that we know from the Bulls. I just didn't see it. So for me, it's a question of I'm not sure if they are adapting. It's got to do with the structure of how they want to play, or is there something they want to include in their game plan that will increase and not make them predictable? That is the question that I'm trying to find, because I like I say, I'm seeing some props offloads. I'm seeing some the flankers offload. I mean, if we talk about the Bulls rugby from I mean, even 3 or 4 years ago, those guys were just bashes. Like, you get the ball, take your man on, and tackle me as many times as you can, but I'm gonna finally get the advantage line, and that's what we're used to. So for me, that I think they probably stuck in that word where they're trying to adapt their game, but at the same time, the players maybe that they have are not the kind of players that can adapt with the game. So, so to answer your question, Scoop, I'm not sure if it is up yet, but like I said, it's just for me their structure. What are they trying to achieve? I can't really pinpoint.
Oof. Interesting takes, gentlemen. Interesting takes. Jade, there's a young lad there, Keegan Johannes, at number 10 for the Blue Bulls that started yesterday or last night. I thought he handled himself quite well in terms of not trying to be fancy, just going through his processes, going through the same game plan, kicking when it's necessary, running when he has to. But I mean, what are your thoughts of this kid? I mean, it was labeled as a risk or a big move for Jake to actually try somebody we haven't seen in a while, right? I mean, Jake White is not is not the risk taker type of coach for as long as we've known him, right? I mean, he's a person who sticks to what he knows, and if the formula is X and Y, let's stick to X and Y, and let's not deviate from that. But what are your thoughts of Keegan Johannes?
I think he did okay. Considering the circumstances, I think he did what was expected of him. He didn't really, play the house down. I think he did okay. He was solid. He's solid, good enough. He's really what the Bulls need at 10. I mean, you'll need a better run, Scoop. We can't give this kid a run now against Leinster, and then next week, I think they will play next week, Zebre or whoever, then he's dropped again, and then they're playing Corson or playing somebody else at 10 again. So, I mean, for a guy like this, you're going to have to give him 3 or 4 games so we can make a real, we can assess him, instead of just, acting over one game and analyzing him. I mean, for a guy like that, for him, it was difficult. He's really has to take his opportunity, and in the back end, he knows, yes, I can play my way into this team now, but next year, the year after that, I'm departed, and I just come back, there's big talks from going back. So yeah, I hope he gets a run, and I hope we can see him for 3 or 4 games instead of just making a comparison or giving him the verdict of the one game or so. It's quite difficult, but it was okay. He was solid yesterday. Not really fancy, nothing. Didn't make a lot of mistakes, but it was okay.
Yeah, Vickers, you wanted to jump in as well?
No, I just wanted to say it was actually loading, because I think 4 weeks ago, I watched Jake White, one of Jake White's press conferences, and he spoke quite highly of Keegan. He spoke about him as a 10, a fullback, and but he's currently playing 9. So it was loading. I think that's what he was trying to, when he was asked. He said he's playing really now because he wants to give more time to Keegan, just to train a little bit more in that position, because he hasn't played for them professionally in that level. So I guess this game was quite one of the testers that he got to throw him out there. So yeah, so I think Jake rates him quite highly as a footballer, and not necessarily as in terms of position. So that's why he threw him out there, and I don't think it was a failure at all. I think it was it was one of those where inexperience kicked in, and you can only see him grow once he starts getting more game time.
Yeah. We need to see more of him. We need to really see more of him. I didn't even know he was not a 10, actually. Clearly, he's a versatile player, because there seems to be quite a lot of these players coming through in SA at this point. Or is it the coaches that are trying these players in different and multiple positions? Because if you're looking at Sasha, for example, 10, 12, 15, maybe you can even throw him on the winger as well, right? You're looking at Willemse, 10, 12, maybe even a 13 and 15. Now you're looking at Keegan Johannes, where you're telling us that he's also had a shot at halfback at 9, and he's now can play 10. He can also play 15. Yeah, there's plenty of versatile players that are coming through in SA. I wonder if that is a good thing or a bad thing. I think a while back we did talk about players not specializing in one position. That could be something maybe to discuss in the upcoming pods as well, in terms of specializing in one position and obviously trying to make it into the big league and play for your national team. But yeah, moving along, guys, more to come from Sharks, more to come from the robbed Lions. I don't know if you guys watched that game on Friday, because Cash believes that a try was scored at the end of that game as well. But yeah, let's go over to Durban. Vickers, you probably also didn't see the Sharks versus who did they play? Zebra.
No, I watched the game.
Yeah, Zebra. But I mean, looking at for that game, for me particularly, looking at the growth of Usia Kolisi, I know there's lots of things happening around, obviously personal things, off the field things that are currently happening around, right, or that have been happening for the past couple of months. But looking at his growth outside of that on a rugby field and his performances, he's been moved to 8th man position for the past 2 games, and is standing out as a very good ball carrier. We've known that he's been a very good ball carrier. Even in his high school years, he was amazing as a ball carrier. Now, obviously, being given that 8th man freedom, do you think this is what the Sharks needed for their forward pack, to have him jumping in at 8, and then you have either the Chituka brothers on the side of the scrum, or you have Buthelezi on the side of the scrum? What do you think of Siakodis's form at this point? I mean, he's really in good nick.
Yeah, I think so. Scoop, you're spot on there. He's in very good nick. I think one thing I've always known about Sia is that he's always loved playing number 8. It was always his go-to jersey. If you would ask him, Sia, what do you want to play? He'd probably say 8. So you can see that he's enjoying his rugby. He's enjoying the freedom that he's getting from obviously from the Sharks coaching staff. So I mean, when you do that for a player, especially like you say, Scoop, his personal things off field not going as well as he had planned, and just to see him enjoy his rugby is quite something good for the public, and I think for the Springbok captain. I think the Sharks still have to find a 6. Clearly, because I was watching Buthelezi as a 6. I wasn't really impressed. I think you can start. I'm not sure if he's also reached his ceiling in terms of the Sharks. In terms of the Sharks, maybe I don't know. Maybe the Sharks need to invest in a 6, because they literally just did a swap. Sia moved to 8 and Buthelezi moved to 6. So yeah. But for me, I think the Sharks didn't do justice for themselves with that game. I mean, after the way they started, they should have cleaned that game out in the first half, in my books, and not allow for Zebra to get the game loose, because Zebra were playing quick lineouts, they were counter-attacking, and the kicks. I mean, some of the kicks were horrible. I think that one of the counter tries came from a guy was supposed to, I don't know if it was Hendricks, who was supposed to dot the ball down for a goal line dropout. He decided to catch the ball and kick it, but they didn't go all the way out, and they counter-attacked, and they went and scored. So it's almost like the Sharks team are learning on the go. it's when you talk about you talk about when you talk about maturity of players, it's almost like their players are new in this thing, and then all of a sudden they realize after they do things that they're not supposed to do, that this is why we don't do this. So they're learning on the go or something like that. But anyway, I think they only got themselves to blame. In terms of the Lions, again, South African side dominant in the first couple of minutes. I think the Lions have actually improved in that. I wonder what they do in their warm-ups, because every time they come out for that first minute, they're firing. And it's been happening now for the last 3 weeks, I think. So it will be interesting to see what they do for what they're doing in their warm-ups, how they're getting those players excited. I think with the Lions, I think for me the one thing that cost them that put back Cardiff back in the game was the stupid penalties that they started having. I mean, small things like grabbing a player, tackling a player off the ball, and stuff like that. I mean, those are the things that coaches don't want to see. But other than that, as Cash probably would say that they were robbed, but I would feel like you were not robbed, because you should have cleaned up that game way before 60th minute. So. Yeah, but other than that, pretty much lucky win for the Sharks. Very lucky win for the Sharks, and unfortunate loss for the Lions.
Yeah, Hugh, you have some interest for these Italian sides. Obviously, what do you think of the game from Sharks and Zebra?
Yeah, Zebra is an interesting case, because earlier this season, the story was that Zebra were going to be sold. So they're currently owned by the Italian Federation, and they were going to be sold to a private owner, and the team would have been moved, probably changed name, etc., etc. That has now changed. They are no longer going to be sold, and they are, in the meantime, having their best season pretty much ever. This was their first defeat in 4 games, I want to say, something like that, and they very nearly won it. Look, I don't have anything new to say about the Sharks. My thoughts on the Sharks are a team with very, very good players, coached not very well. That's all I have to say about the Sharks. That's what they are. All of their underlying statistics are quite poor, but their best players are sorting them out. But yeah, Zebra are playoff contenders in this form. I'm glad that the Scarlets played them earlier in the season whilst they still weren't very good, because I think they're on 5 wins for this season. So it's sensational form. I really think that it's great to see, because for a long time they've been the whipping boys of the league, and for that to change is a good thing. Benetton, I still think Benetton are underperforming, even though they got the win over Edinburgh. Their squad is incredible. They've got the bulk of the Italian squad, although it is rumoured that a lot of those Italian international players are going to be leaving at the end of this season, so that's a story to keep an eye on. But even so, they've got anywhere where they don't have an Italian international, they've got either an Argentinian international or a Rhino Smith or a Malachi Fakatoa, someone like that. So Benetton, I think, aren't even achieving their bare minimum at the moment. So if they're going to have a new coach next season, they need to be showing significant improvement, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. Not straying away from the Sharks, Jade. You heard what Vuyo said. Sia in good nick, or I said it. But Buthelezi, the Sharks need a big and heavy number 6, a good ball carrier. Sia Kolisi has shown his great form in ball carries, but number 6, what can the Sharks do now? Who do they need to buy? Because they've already got now Edwin van der Merwe, obviously, but that's a winger. They've got a very strong backline, actually, the Sharks. But that forward pack, man, is still not giving confidence going into these games. And also the lackluster performances of putting a team to the sword for a few minutes, but then kind of regressing as the longer the game goes. And obviously, I mean, Zebra now almost winning that game out of nowhere. As a Shark supporter, you always either biting your nails or sitting at the edge of your seat every weekend. I'm sure Mbumelelo's nails are all gone. They're probably onto the... He's probably chewed all his nails off his fingers, basically. But yeah, your thoughts on the Sharks and obviously Zebra doing what they do best in that game on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, what's still more to say about the Sharks? I mean, they tend to disappoint us more than, they um, surprise us, or how can I say, in terms of Bumalemo, he's more disappointed in the Sharks these days and happy about their performances. So, yeah, for me, I also look at it forward balanced, and they have the players, they have the kettle there, but I think the balance is not right. I think if you're going to play Sia at 8, you're going to have to get, a 6 that's going to go to the ball and play towards the ball, and look at getting someone like that, or someone that's going to dominate in tackles, someone that's going to get you 20 plus tackles a game. So that's what you're looking at, what you're looking at your open sides to do, if you're looking at World Rugby now. So who's available, school? Who's available? Who would you say come in there now, be shoe in? Because he's not getting any of those sixes at the Bulls. I mean, Martial or Eskom was not coming there. Sia is the box 6, starting 6. Kwagga, if the possibility of them trying to get Kwagga back in South Africa, he's one that I can think of. But who's available? Else going and getting somebody younger in, and grooming them in a position. But do the Sharks want to do that? So they might just look at a quick fix, moving Sia back to 6 and playing both to cover others. That's something they could do, or might even look at getting someone like the one Venter at the Lions, somebody from there. Although I think he just extended his contract as well. So for me, that's what they're gonna have to do. I don't know who's really available as a 6 that's really gonna make strides in that position, and that's really gonna come in and make a difference. Because remember, we're taking them from a mid-table team to a championship winning team. So you're going to have to get world-class players in. You can't get somebody in, that now he's going to do that job. So you're going to have to maybe look at getting a Kwagga in or somebody from abroad. In terms of number 6, the names aren't really there. The only one I could think about is really Kwagga, and will he come back to South Africa?
Yeah, I think that's a very good call, Kwagga Smith. Who's this other guy now who used to play for the Sharks? Was from Bloemfontein, Jacques Vermeulen, I think? No? Redhead. Then he went to the Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken. But now it seems like Jake White wants to bring that guy to to Blue Bulls, which is crazy. Looking at the amount of loose forwards that they have at the Blue Bulls already, and Sharks. I don't know why they would go for a winger in Edro van der Merwe instead of looking for a flanker to beef up their forward pack. I mean, now Itzebeth hasn't been around for some time. It doesn't look like he's going to be coming back anytime soon, which is also a concern for them, right? Because now they've got, not a lot of experience in the engine room. They've got good props, but then the locks, the lock pairing, they're lacking something there. And then if you lack something within the lock pairing, and then with your imbalance of your loose forward or your loose trio, then there's probably issues then that need to be covered, so that the back line, which is amazing, then they can actually execute and do all the razzle dazzle things that we expect them to be doing. Vickers, you wanted to jump in there?
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the signing of the Edwin van der Merwe. I mean, they let go of this exactly a similar winger in Takiri Abrams or something. He's basically a replacement of that same player, because they're very similar in stature, very similar in footwork, or maybe not as obviously effective, but I mean, like, again, we've been saying this on this pod. Whoever is making the decisions on signing is to, maybe they need to go and learn how to build a team in terms of structure and what you need first. Because it doesn't make sense for them to go sign a winger when, like, we're talking about, maybe we don't see it, maybe they don't see it like as we do. We're talking about that engine. We feel like they have solid props. I mean, their props are Springbok props, basically. But yes, they lost Chutuka, Tunu now. But after that, it's like they've got Eben. Maybe they could have beefed up the locks, one more good lock, solid lock. Then, like you say, Scoop, Kwagga Smith coming in the mix, bringing in a guy like a Kwagga, even someone who's going to own that 6 jersey, so that you all know that this guy starts every weekend. So for me, that's for them to go and sign a winger and they probably paid a lot of money for him because, I mean, he's a Springbok. So it's a matter of...
They did pay a lot of money. It's
a matter of Yao now needs to move. Now, Yao will have to obviously move because it's clear that Edwin is coming for that 14 jersey because he's not going to replace Mapimpi.
Yeah. Jade?
No, man, it's been spot on today, but you know, when you have a lot of money, you just seem to buy stupid stuff and, you know, waste your money. You don't think things clear. So I think that's what the show is. But you know what? No, I said it a few months ago. It's a pity he's injured. But I mean,
sorry, Jade. Before you continue, do we now call the Sharks then the I Blew It rugby club or rugby?
No, they like us when it comes to December time when you get bonus. You know, you buy unnecessary stuff, and then you come January, you're still thinking, I didn't even get stationery and stuff. You know, they're like us. But anyway, I was thinking about it, and there's a guy by the Stormers. I mean, he's injured now, Keke Morape. And unfortunately, he's injured, and he was negotiating his contract with the Stormers. He was still in a junior contract to get through. He is exactly what the Sharks need in that type of. So, but he's injured, but that's the kind of player, you know, Scoop, that they need there. A hard running person, no nonsense. Can I get you over that one guy? Can I carry all day? Can I do hard yards? And if I was the Sharks, he would be the one, you know, that I would have went for. But unfortunately, he got injured in sign extension of the Stormers. But that is the way that, you know, the profile they got to be looking at the Sharks, especially at loose forward and getting that balance right.
Yeah, recruitment is one of the most important things for any union at this point, right? I mean, from all clubs, Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, we see how important that is. I think, Jade, going into a Waikato Chiefs element, right? We've seen how good and how well the Chiefs look currently this season in terms of personnel. They can actually start two different teams on any weekend. And now looking at Crusaders from last season, they had new players coming through. Obviously they couldn't buy a win. Probably won one or two games, which was a terrible season, obviously. But now those players that lost so many games are still within the squad, and then all the All Blacks are back and available. So they've got a very massive squad as well. Auckland Blues, we've got new faces coming in through this season because of the injuries, right? If you go to next year with the same team and the same squad with Auckland Blues, they'll have enough players who will have had some game time and experience at this level. And obviously, defending champions, you'd expect them to be performing better this season. But obviously, it's not going according to plan for Vern Cotter. I mean, take us through what's going on at the Garden.
Yeah, no, you just said it there. I mean, you're looking at 14 first-team players that's been injured. And then also losing a guy like Barry Dukes, you know, in the lead-up to the game as well, you know, your captain. So, I mean, they lost both blocks, or All Blacks. They lost both hookers are gone. Both props are gone. So losing Bowden Barrett as well. I mean, they have teams on Sullivan this year. AJ Lamb is gone. So for me, you know, they really stretched. And it also shows that, you know, that the whole Northern Auckland, Counties, Monaco region hasn't been really as strong in NPC. If you compare them to, let's say, the Chiefs, like you mentioned, where you have the Bay of Plenty, Taranaki, you know, Waikato from there, and those guys have been playing NPC finals, you know, big games and been performing in the NPC. So that's quite the difference, you know, if you're looking at the two, where they've really got a good quality squad with the Chiefs, with the Bulls, the Blues have really got a younger, inexperienced squad, you know. They really need to think. It's a bit difficult for them to make the playoffs. You know, I think being a Blue supporter at the moment, I think I can write off the season and just maybe looking at giving a few younger guys an opportunity, you know, like Rico Simpsons, maybe a Peyton Spencer over there, getting a few of those guys in, you know, to see what they can do. But it's the same like the Crusaders last year. This year the Crusaders are arguably, in my opinion, I think they're the team, for me, it's the best team in the competition at the moment. But as soon as you lose your world-class players in the team, your All Blacks, you lose your Wallabies, you know, like last year. Crusaders lost Scott Barrett, they lost Will Jordan, really didn't play a lot. So they lost all of their props as well. So that in all, it's difficult to bounce back from. And look at the Blues this year as well. They struggling with injuries. I think Byrne also needs to, he needs to a little bit change things up there a little bit. They started the game well against the Crusaders, and then individual errors, we can't allow a team like the Crusaders to go bang bang, because that's what they do. They've been winning championships like that. They score back to back and they kill the game and they'll blink again. You're trailing them by 3 tries and you were just in the lead about 5 to 6 minutes ago. So that's what the Crusaders do. But just Scoop, that's enough of the Blues for now. They've got a lot of problems, but I can touch on the Crusaders a bit. I like what Rob Penny's got there. I really, really like what Rob Penny's got, what he's doing. I don't think he's maybe the best coach. Maybe, I don't know if it's his plan alone, but I like the different pictures they have on attack, Scoop. I don't know if you picked it up as well. I mean, you are a Crusader supporter. But I mean, it's just evident to be looking at the winners. I mean, you've seen the weekend Shafinaki scoring a double, but Marcus Springer, Sebo Risa, top of the try chain or top of the try scoring charts, the amount of ball they're getting in possession, getting what in the game. Will Jordan, I mean, don't discredit his playmaking ability as well. Every time he injects himself into the back line, something happens. So I like the different pictures they have on attack. They dominate, when they carry the ball. They can do it. They can play the behind pass. They're giving you 3 or 4 different pictures on attack. So for me, I think for me at the moment, they're the team. The Chiefs are good. They razzle dazzle. But the Crusaders now to do it. And for me, they're the form team in this competition. They look structured. They look well set. You have guys that just do their job. You don't hear their name on the field, like Antonio Shelf on the lock. I mean, you don't hear them. They doesn't do anything flashy. But that guy makes about 70 to 80 contact, he's in 70 to 80 contact situations a game, and that's what you want from your lock. And it's the same, they always had these kind of guys, your Ruben Thorns, your Christie in the past. There's always these unsung heroes in this team that know their role. I mean, Scott Barrett was one of them as well. So yeah, that's what I like with Crusaders at the moment. They really look the part. But yeah, in terms of Super Rugby, at the moment now, there's only 2 New Zealand teams in the top 6, and all 4 Australian teams are in the top 6. So what does that say?
Interesting. That's what it says. Very interesting. Hugh and Vuyo, I know you guys don't catch a lot of the razzle-dazzle, the blockbuster Super Rugby tournament, but I mean, from your overall picture and highlight...
Weekend. There was only 1 or 2 really stupid scorelines. I think it was just the Chiefs game that was a daft scoreline.
Pulling your guys' legs. But yeah, your overall view on this weekend's lineups and matches, your thoughts, and obviously what did you pick up from your side?
Not tons, to be honest, mate. It was clashing with the Formula One for me. So I did.
You were in 6th place. You only won the sprint this weekend.
He got disqualified from the main race.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Blank one away.
That's unfortunate. Vickers, Super Rugby in Russia?
No, mate. No, I did catch a couple of. I think it was a Crusaders game a little bit, and I think the Friday morning game. I think I watched a little bit of that, but I'm currently in camp, so it's very difficult to catch full games. But from what I saw, Chiefs on Friday dominated Manu Pacifica. I mean, you could see that they were nowhere in the game. And then Saturday morning was Blues and Crusaders. I just caught a couple of tries, and then I thought to myself, okay, I don't want to put myself through this. So that's when I stopped. I switched off. But as an old Blues supporter, it's tough to see the team.
You had seen enough.
I had seen enough, mate.
Stop the count. Griffin, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I got things to say about Super Rugby because I've just looked up the scores. But before, because I know he's got to go, Vuyo, do you encourage your players to watch much rugby? And if so, what teams do you encourage them to watch?
Yeah, I encourage them to watch everything. As much rugby as possible. They must come up with questions. They must give me questions. Why do teams do this? Why do teams do that? I encourage that quite a lot. It doesn't matter which. So in Russia, they struggle to get a lot of streams, but you do get some streams with with no commentary in terms of Russian commentary, but you do get 1 or 2 games where they will do like a Russian commentary. So the players do watch a lot of rugby, and I don't mind which teams they watch, but I always say to them, come up with questions, ask me questions why this happened, especially when it comes to the laws and stuff.
Awesome. I love that. I love asking coaches that. It's always great to hear. Scoop, in terms of my impression of the league, Moana Pacifica, so Stephen Jones, the Welsh and Scarlets legend, is the attack coach at Moana Pacifica. He's obviously getting a pat on the back every single week, but the defence coach, like Stephen Jones is going into the coaches review on Monday going, well, we scored 35, 40 points again. So, it's not my fault.
Nah, fair enough. Guys, I think that's it for this particular segment and obviously the show for this week. But thank you very much.
One thing quickly.
Yes,
One thing quickly.
Yeah.
Does the performances of the Australian teams at the moment, do they make you a little bit concerned from a Lions perspective, or do you still think it to be smooth sailing for this?
No, I'm not concerned. What was it, 2013 last tour? Was that when the Waratahs won the title in 2013? It was like 50, 60, 70 points every game. No, I'm not concerned. But I am liking what I'm seeing from the Waratahs. I think they did some great recruitment over the summer in terms of on and off the field. And I think that they're getting back to where they should be. So I'm enjoying that subplot of the season.
I think my cat might join the Australian coaching staff for this tour, for this Lions tour, because it's already at Waratahs, as it is. No?
Yeah, he could also join the Lions.
Nah.
He could.
Nah.
Yeah, could.
He's already based in Australia. Oh, man, he will take all the tips from the Australian.
Yeah. Because what's his name is there? The former director of rugby from Ireland. He's joined the Lions. What's his name?
Nisifora.
Nisifora. David Nisifora,
yeah. David Nisifora has joined in. So, yeah, we might just see Mike Cat join and link up with his old friend, Andy Farrell.
Scoop,
be interesting.
Ask me what I think of Johnny Sexton being a coach with the Lions.
Is he a coach with the Lions?
That's the rumour.
No, shush. What is he going to coach? The back line?
We don't know.
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are this. I couldn't care less.
Why on earth would they get Johnny Sexton? Jeez,
everyone in Ireland is freaking out about this. I could not give 2 hoots.
That is interesting. Okay, I need to dig up more on this so that I can throw a little bone here and there for the Irish fans on my timeline. I think they enjoy the banter and they enjoy my comments when it comes to footy. Let's see what happens. But anyway, guys, thank you very much, Hugh. Thank you, Jade. Vickers had to jump off, obviously. But thank you to the listeners as well. The pod will be up in the next hour on Spotify, YouTube. What else is there? Apple Podcast. Anywhere else, or Buzzsprout if you prefer. But yeah, we are available online. Catch you guys later, and enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Sunday roast, Jade, over there in Bloemfontein, or in the UK for Hugh. But enjoy, guys. Have a lovely Sunday, and enjoy the rest of your week. See you guys next week, Sunday. Same time, same place. Rugby Scoop.
Cheers, guys.